Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of Blue Box Banter, a Doctor Who recap podcast done by two ex-Doctor Who addicts now revisiting their nostalgic obsession. This week's episode covers Episode 6, The Long Game, a completely forgettable episode starring Doctor Who's most annoying temporary companion. Look, we know he was supposed to be a good example of a bad companion, but did they really have to make him so unlikable? Be warned, we will cover our hatred of this man extensively. We are sorry in advance. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy our unhinged and easily distracted recap of this episode of Doctor Who. Alright, I think we can safely say we're on to probably our least favorite episode of this season, at least so far.
Yeah.
It's just, the thing is it's not like it's an awful concept, it just doesn't feel fleshed out properly.
Yeah, no. Especially since it comes out of nowhere.
And it's after, like, one of the best episodes of the season 2s. So, like, it had so much to live up to, and it did not at all. So, we start out, and Adam from the last episode is still on the TARDIS for some reason. And they...
The way that their relationship has suddenly, like, gone from, like, oh, they're just kind of, like, friends flirting to, like, the Doctor straight up, like, teasing her about him being her boyfriend and something is so out of left field. It's like there was no character development on screen for this to be justified.
So they land wherever they are, and the Doctor and Rose exit the TARDIS, and the Doctor basically, like, gives her a lowdown about where they are, so that when Adam comes out, she can be the one to, like, info dump on him.
Which I think is hilarious that he does that for her.
Yeah.
I like that she gets to play Doctor.
It's a very cute moment, but I love...
It's undercut by Adam coming out and being an
absolute dickhead. But it's just so funny because they go to, like, see the planet, and immediately Adam faints. And the Doctor goes, "That's your boyfriend." And she goes, not anymore.
It's like, was he ever your boy? Like, what was the relationship there?
I think the implication is that because he acted like a big baby, she no longer is attracted to him.
This was his, like, trial run, and she was, like, immediately uninterested.
And she's like, it's not man enough for her.
Her actual boyfriend's already kind of a
big baby.
A little baby.
Yeah. So you're just like, no, let's not maybe. And so, God, I just... So we continue forward, and the Doctor's like, it's the great, it's like the fifth great human empire, and all this culture and great food and the arts, and, like, immediately it's one of those moments of, like, the Doctor says something and then he's proven wrong.
Yeah.
And then immediately
it's all like
chip carts,
like carts and
burgers and
which
stuff.
That is some good food, but not what he was.
And
not what he was expecting.
Everyone's milling about and, like, bumping into each other and shit. And the Doctor has to go and basically load up a fake credit card so that they can buy food.
The part that confuses me about this episode is Rose. I think it's Rose that points out, why aren't there other aliens?
Yeah.
Because the Doctor literally is like, this is when humanity's, like, out and about, hanging out with other aliens and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And Rose is like, so where are they? And he's like,
that's a question.
A good point.
Yeah.
And this part of the episode is kind of, like, brought up a bunch of times but never explicitly answered, because what ends up happening is that they're specifically not allowing other aliens onto the spaceship.
Yeah.
But they never explain, like, they're at war, I guess, kind of.
Okay.
There's, like, a lot of conflict, but it never explains why, and I think it's literally because they didn't want to pay for the prosthetics and have aliens.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I was thinking the entire episode. I'm like, I have a feeling they keep bringing this up so no one will say, like, why weren't there other aliens?
Yeah.
Just so they have to color someone's skin blue or whatever.
Bring out the blue grease paint. But so they meet Beelzebub.
Oh, yeah.
One of the people that the Doctor comes across later plays Beelzebub in Good Omens, which I think
first season.
Yeah, first season of Good Omens, which I thought was really funny. Basically come across these two girls, and he's like, where are we? And the one girl is just immediately so rude.
Yeah.
Like, just...
Well, it's to, like, play on this idea that Station 5, that's where they are, Station 5.
Satellite 5.
Satellite 5 is a, like, dog-eat-dog. Like, you have to climb over each other to get to the top. But, like, that's literally not how it's literally only like that for this one lady.
Yeah.
Like, she's the only one that thinks that. So, because the other lady is, like, chill. Like, she's not about to, like, punch him in the face or whatever.
But, so the doctor basically feigns being from, like, upper management, and this is, like, a test, like a secret shopper that they do. And so he
pulls that that line and it works every time.
It's the psychic paper, once you see the documentation.
But also, like, the fear of accidentally, like, screwing over your boss.
Yeah, is always, like, it's intrinsic to, like, a capitalist society, I guess. And so we find out that Satellite 5 is, like, where all of the stations in the world are broadcasting from. They control the media.
Yeah.
This is Bad Wolf Channel.
Oh my god. Yeah, she's like, the one girl's like, the Bad Wolf Channel, where the face of Bo just announced his pregnancy, and you're like, can we go back and discuss that?
The way that it is just shrugged off, because this is the part that gets me, because at this point, like, obviously, because we've watched the show God knows how many times at this point, we know the face of Bo.
And this also Bad Wolf.
Yeah, in this season, we've only seen him once before, which was on
How is he pregnant? But it's funny because this is our third Bad Wolf mention, and it's mentioned in the same sentence as the face of Bo pregnancy.
Yes. Where does he keep the uterus?
That's what I'm saying. What is going on with the pregnancy?
He doesn't have a body.
He doesn't have... Maybe is it in his face?
Who had sex with the face of Bo?
I don't want to think about it.
Was it an asexual reproduction?
Yeah, he just becomes another face of Bo. But we know that he doesn't have kids later on, so I think this was just like a one-off joke.
Was it an April Fool's prank?
Well, I don't think they meant for the face of Bo to become as big as he did, so they're like, what if we make a joke about him being pregnant? And then forgetting that later on.
It's just, the fact that it's so nonchalant is so funny. But, they're like milling about basically this like cafeteria, and bitch boy Adam is like, I'm kind of woozy.
Oh wait.
And
yeah, well, because he finds out about I think when they go to the thing first and they find out about the thing going in your forehead thing.
This makes no sense to me.
So like her forehead opens and all of it is beamed into her head because she's used as a computer processor essentially, but she won't remember anything.
Which makes no sense. Then what's the point?
I think it's literally because if it took place like now, I guess it would make sense because we don't have processors powerful enough, but you would think like 5 billion years in the future they would have processors that that aren't humans.
The doctor does mention that about how archaic the technology is given the time.
It's still, you would think they would still have a processor capable of processing that much information.
But like, what do they do with the information after it's been processed? Because if they're supposed to be beaming the information, how do they do it from their brains?
I think it's one of those things where it's like sci-fi, like they're processing the information, but we're not going to really get into it, and you're not going to think about it.
The set for this scene, too, looks awful. Like
it looks really cheap.
I was looking at it when we were watching this episode, and I was like, it's just 4 white walls where, like, when
with, like, a dentist chair in the middle.
With a dentist chair, and when it, like, activate, and then, like, a bunch of clearly stage lights go on behind the walls, and you could tell they're sections of like walls so that they can easily remove it, and then the people around her just like put their hands on the things.
And then we're also like introduced to the idea of like floor 500, I think, where it's like the walls are covered in gold or whatever.
Oh.
And that's when like the other girl is like, she gets a promotion. And the other girl's like, but I was here longer. It's like, girl, calm down.
Oh, so first we see Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
And he's like got
little frosted
tips and like
literal frosted tips because it's all cold up there for some reason.
And he's like, someone's not down there that's not supposed to be there. And of course we're going, it's the doctor and Rose. And then he like scans for this girl and she gets promoted. I feel so bad for her. If the doctor didn't show up, she would have probably stayed under the radar. But
yeah, because the reason they're scanning is because like I think they set off some kind of alarm or some kind of,
because they don't have a security tag. They're probably all chipped. They get microchipped.
And also the girl she's secretly like a
freedom fighter,
which they never get into specifically, but like that means that there's a reason. Like people know that they're controlling the media. And there's this underlying theme of like all media is controlled, and if you control the media, you control the people. And it's like it's too much of a deep topic to be covering in this specific episode. Like the way they do it is just not.
It's such a heavy, and I think the thing is maybe it's just less fun for us because that's how people actually think now.
Yeah, well, in 2005 it was like, there's no way you can control all of the media.
And now it's like, oh, this group controls the media, or that group controls the media. And you're just like, shut up.
I think the problem, unfortunately, is the like, anti-Semitic issues nowadays. So it's hard to look back on this episode where obviously that's not what they meant. They literally mean, like, a force controlling the government so they can control people and sell... Which is kind of like what the... I don't want to say what the government does, but, like, the idea of, like, if you control the media, you can sell people anything.
Well, it's like how the U.S. military subsidizes a buttload of Hollywood productions to create military
that's I think
propaganda.
what they were trying to get at, but it's like...
But now we have all this
At the time, it was too much... It wasn't as much of, like, a thing people talked about, so it was kind of like a radical idea to do an episode on. But now it's like... Ugh.
People genuinely believe this stuff, and it's super anti-Semitic, and you have all this other shit going on, and you're like, this is a lot less fun than it would have been at the time. Now it just hurts my soul. And so they bring her up, and she's like, I'm gonna get you, and then they just kill her. And you're just like, this poor woman.
She's like, where's your boss? And he's like, look up. And she looks up, and then something kills her.
Yeah. Also, like, everything's frosty up there, and she finds, like, the corpses. Like, why did they get rid of the corpses?
Because they're still using the corpses as computer processors.
I guess, but
But
they're using the live people, too.
Well, they have to play... I don't know.
I don't know. It's not very well thought out. And then we cut back to Adam, and Rose... I will say this is funny. Rose is like, I got you, like, a slush puppy, and then it's beef flavored. I will say that's a really good joke. Because, like, I feel like the, like, idea of liquid food is always something that comes up in, like, in like, a sci-fi future stuff. Or, like, remember Shane makes the joke about how if he could just take a pill and be, like, satisfied, he would do that. I feel like that's very much, like, a sci-fi concept. And so, like...
I hate it. I like eating food.
Liquid beef. Oh, my God. And so... Rose gives Adam a TARDIS key so that if he's not feeling very good, because he's like, I'm gonna go, like, stand out on basically, like, a balcony, essentially.
Yeah.
And, like, calm down and acclimate. And she's like, okay, if you, like, don't feel good, like, take the TARDIS key and go back in. And he says something about, like, yeah, like, it's any more normal in there. And I'm like...
his attitude, like, I don't understand why Rose brought him along. His attitude is awful.
When I looked up, like, the Wikipedia for this episode, the excuse they made was he was supposed to be an example of an inept...
like, the opposite of what a companion should be.
Yeah, which was, like, the anti-companion.
It's an interesting concept, except he's just so annoying.
Exactly.
Like, I can understand them bringing someone along and... Like, because he ends up trying to use time travel to benefit himself.
Yes, which is not what you're supposed to do.
Which is like which would be an interesting concept, except he's just, I think also the actor's just awful. Which I don't feel bad saying because he's actually a bad person.
Yeah, exactly.
But he just, like, he's trying to play, like, this kind of incel character, but he's also kind of, like, a little guy. He's, like, naive, but also wants to be more... But it all comes out just schmarmy.
Like, here's the thing from the Wikipedia article on him. Adam Mitchell, first of all, is a fictional character in the British sci-fi television series Doctor Who, played by Bruno Langley. Adam is introduced in the first series of the program's revival as the second television companion of the Ninth Doctor. However, unlike the Ninth Doctor's primary companion, Rose Tyler, provided an effective human contrast to the Doctor's centuries-old alien, Adam was created to provide an example of an inept time traveler. So that was his intention.
Which I get. That's definitely what I got from the episode. I just think they didn't do it very well.
No. Yeah, so it's not great. I'm not a fan of his character. I think it's really silly.
So when I first started rewatching the show after probably at least 5 years, I started rewatching it in December. I forgot that this episode existed.
Me too.
I watched it and I was like, oh yeah, Adam from the other episode? Why is he here?
I will say, I think what makes me laugh is this is probably the first example of decent CGI in terms of the little, like, brain thing, which is so funny because it's so stupid.
It's funny because I remember, like, watching this episode and after I was like, oh yeah, this was an episode I don't remember anything about. I just spent the next, like, hour watching it, like, completely silent, like, why is this happening? Like, I was not happy watching this episode.
It's so weird too because this episode is really important to the continuity of the series because Satellite 5 comes back later.
Yeah.
And like the fact that there's no aliens and the humans aren't as far along as they're supposed to be is integral. Like this is a key episode that you have to watch for the continuity.
It's so forgettable.
Which is just so strange that they put so much like important like lore information into this like weird episode.
Because when I was rewatching it the other day for the podcast, I also was like, I remember this episode. I don't remember anything about it. Like,
I like rewatched it 3 times to make sure I could remember what the hell was going on.
It's just it's so like the storyline and like the acts, like Act 1 just is like something completely different from Act 2, and none of them meld very well.
I will say I laugh at the part, so the doctor breaks into, like, the control systems of the satellite, because of course he did, and the one lady is just bitching all the time, and the doctor says something like, you're so negative, why can't you be positive like Rose? And Rose just gives, like, a little smile, and you're just like, oh my god. Rose basically just got good girls by the doctor, and she's real happy about it.
She just got, like when...
Teacher's pet.
Yeah, but you're like, why can't you be good like this character? And
she's
the character's like, yeah, that's what I thought.
And so, like...
They both have such an ego on them. And I think that's what makes them so good. Even when Rose was, like, playing Doctor earlier, like, she had such an ego about it.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to see how they kind of
play off
each other.
So while the Doctor and Rose are trying to figure out what's going on,
Adam makes a very terrible bodily surgery decision. So
first is we mentioned in the last episode, he tries to go onto one of the computers and so Rose gives him her phone that the doctor did some jiggery pokery to try to call his parents, and he gets the answering machine. So while he's alone, he accesses one of the computers and he calls his parents again and is like, don't delete this message, and he starts reading off about a bunch of information that they wouldn't have yet, which was when he says in 2019 the microprocessor will become obsolete, and you're like, incorrect.
No, they had some interest. I think whoever wrote this episode just kind of threw a bunch. It was Russell T.
Yeah.
This episode, he just kind of threw a bunch of like microprocessor and like
things that the average person might not be able to understand,
and like things that you would be like, oh yeah, that sounds futuristic, but if you actually thought about it for a second, you're like, wait a second.
And then it like short circuits and it's like does not have access.
Yeah, because he doesn't have the brain thing.
He doesn't have even a chip because the other people have the chip in their head. So he goes to the medical floor and he's just acting like a whole dingus, and like the way that this woman talks to him makes me really uncomfortable because the affectation that she puts on, I think the idea is she's supposed to sound like a sleazy salesman, but it's
a sleazy salesman plus like someone on customer service that is a little bit creepy.
But the problem is the way she's acted, and there's really no other way to describe it. She sounds like a porn actress.
Yeah, no, it's like weird bad acting.
Like it sounds like at any minute it's gonna be like, yeah, like the bad sax music's gonna cue in because she's giving like, she's supposed to be like a MILF, I guess, and she's like supposed to be like getting him to do all this stuff.
Yeah,
and she's like, well, we can perform the operation. And you just expect them to start disrobing, and you're like, talk normally.
She puts a lot of like, she speaks in that like weird quiet voice, and also kind of like draws her senses, and you're like, this is not the vibe.
The energy is so strange, and like she plays it very well. Like don't get me wrong, like
who made that decision?
The directing decision was very strange, really because like the whole idea is she's supposed to be convincing him to one up things because she realizes that he's rich, well, quote unquote rich, right? And so he goes in, and
it's so funny to remember that. Canonically, Adam is a genius.
Yeah.
He mentions it in the episode before.
Fucking moron.
The decision he's about to make is what he doesn't think it through.
Mm-hmm.
he's going to the future and he's getting a chip, what he thinks is going to be a chip, and then she's like, we can do the other thing too, like, it's not that much more money, like, you have all this money. And he just
and you get access to all the information
and he
ever.
just fully, like, is like, yeah, sure, not thinking of the consequences of having a giant hole in your head.
This is why I said Van Staten is Musk and Adam is Zuckerberg, because Musk is just an idiot with money. Zuckerberg thinks he knows a thing or two.
Yeah, like, he's so smart, but he's so dumb. And because he wants to do it just so he can, like...
make money, essentially.
Make money in the past, present.
Does he know about cryptocurrency and NFTs then?
He must have. But he doesn't remember any of the stuff. That's the problem, is like, he has all this stuff. And, this is this dumb thing that doesn't really make sense. He's like, he calls his mom after he gets the thing in LinkedIn. He calls his parents again. He's like, don't erase this. And then he turns on the machine and just holds his phone up.
He's like, I'll translate this when I get home. And it's like,
what are you translating? The sound? Because
the
only way you can process it is through your brain. So you're not processing the sound. You're processing the also, probably wouldn't even have made the sound is just sci-fi wee-woos. Like in real life, it wouldn't have made a sound.
Does he think that it's just like it's a scramble? Like, you know when you like speed something up and then he can like
that's what I think he thought, but it's not really how that works.
So she does the surgery, and I will say what made me laugh is she says how someone sings Danny Boy to get theirs to open, and I love the idea of someone like having it be like, okay, time to go to work. Oh, Danny Boy, the pipes, and then but she calls it a click of the fingers, which I don't know. That's probably a British thing, but I was like, it's a snap. What? Like, I don't get it. Oh, and let us not forget the ice cube vomit.
Oh God, yeah, because he's like, he gets
his brain. Be sick.
His brain opens, his head opens, and you can see his brain. He's like, oh, I'm gonna be sick, and then he just pukes at a little ice cube, and you're like,
and she goes nano termites, which will freeze any waste. She threw it in as a bonus, and I'm just. But this is the other thing. So I've watched the scene so many times, trying to figure out what the intention was. So he throws up into this little thing, and then she explains it, and then she looks down at it and looks absolutely flabbergasted, and then he looks like confused or apologetic, and I don't know if the intention is he thinks he's gonna throw up again, or does she see something in the vomit that confuses her? Like, I genuinely...
Some corn.
It's a solid, 5 seconds of really awkward silence, and I'm like...
It's really bad.
Why was this not edited out?
I don't think they needed to put the ice cube in there at all.
I don't get it.
They really... It was like they had some word counts they had to fill.
It feels like they were 5 seconds off from the required amount of time, so they had to leave that in. Otherwise, they couldn't do it. And I don't get it. This is the rantiest episodes yet. So, finally, I do love this part, though, is when the doctor and Rose go in the elevator to go up to floor 500. Once again, they're holding hands.
There's a part earlier, though, when, I think one of the girls is having, a panic attack, or maybe she's excited. When she gets promoted, she's excited, and she's like, wish me luck or something, and...
She says, good riddance.
No, but... The doctor says, I'll hug anyone, and gives her a hug.
Yeah, it's a really cute moment.
She's like, wish me luck, and he's like, I'll hug anyone, and gives her a little congratulatory hug.
Because she says thank you to him, and he goes, I didn't have anything to do with this, and she goes, well, you're my lucky charm then.
And he's like, I'll hug anybody.
Yeah, it's a very sweet moment. The Rose and Doctor are holding hands again. I do...
It's funny because it's like the doctor's like, finally I've gotten rid of Adam.
Yeah.
I can hold her hand.
Yeah. He just wants to hold hands with Rose, but I do love, this is another moment of the doctor being like, I love my companion, oh shit, I put her in danger again. Because as soon as they get out of the elevator, he looks around and he's like, you should go back downstairs. And you're like, dude.
And this is when incel Simon Pegg is
oh my god.
He's like, he's a human, and he's like, when they ask him, why are you hanging out with this evil alien? He's like, a paycheck's a paycheck. It's like, okay. But then he holding them with their whatever, that's when he pulls the line, is a slave if they don't know they're enslaved?
And the doctor says,
like,
yes.
yeah?
And he's like, oh, I thought we were going to have a conversation.
No, he literally says, I thought we were going to have a debate about it.
He's just Space Ben Shapiro.
That's what I said. He's literally an incel, because he's like, I thought we were going to debate about the ethics of slavery.
He's just Space Ben Shapiro. I need to look up this alien's name, because I need to remember how to pronounce it properly.
And then he's like, he starts saying, he's like, how do you not exist? Because none of our computers are picking you up. And he's like, I guess I'm just special. And then suddenly he starts listing off, like, things about the doctor that he should know, and the doctor's like, how do you know this? And he clicks on a TV, and Adam is doing the process
so he has all of the information.
And the Simon Pegg's character, whose name I can't remember, is like, well, he's getting all this information, but we're also scanning his brain, and my problem is, he starts talking about, like, Time War and the TARDIS and everything, but Adam shouldn't know any of that.
No.
All Adam knows is that the doctor is an alien and he has a time machine. Like,
maybe like can remember how the TARDIS gets into your head?
Yeah, but that is like a big stretch.
Okay, so it's I knew Rex Corcovalatorius from when I was a kid. This is I'm gonna mispronounce this one. So it's the mighty Jagrafes of the Holy Hadrojasic Maxarodenfo. That's his full government name. That's on his birth certificate.
It's on his driver's license.
The mighty Jagrafes of the Holy Hadrojasic Maxarodenfo.
Yeah, because you look up and there's just this little guy on the ceiling.
My friend was terrified of this episode because of that thing hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah, I understand.
It made her scared of any large room.
I think the funniest part is about this episode is how, I mean, Adam's obviously the terrible companion, but Rose is, like, getting everything right on the head because she starts asking the right questions, like, why is it so hot down here?
Yeah.
Because all of the heat is getting pushed down to the bottom.
But this is the other thing that doesn't make sense, is so he says something about how the Jagrafes lives for, like, 3,000 years or something like that, and the doctor says that's a hell of a metabolism. That's not how that works.
I don't know what that line was about.
Well, because that's the whole thing. He's like, it has to stay cool because it has a really overactive metabolism, but that means it eats a lot. But they never show it eating.
Yeah,
like,
what is he?
If the implication is the reason he's able to stay alive for so long and the reason he's creating so much heat is because he has a high metabolism, which means he goes through a lot of food, but they never show him eating.
What confused me is, how did he get into this position? Because the doctor's like, he's like, specifically, the human race has been set back 90 years. How long ago did the satellite, and they're like 90 years, and he's like, what the heck? So it's been 90 years that this little guy on the ceiling has, like, been here, and he obviously has gone through a bunch of different Simon Peggs, whatever character. So, like, how has this, like, how did he get, because the satellite was probably just a satellite before he showed up.
So this is what the fan wiki says, okay? The Jagrafes was put in charge of the fourth great and bountiful human empire in the year 199,909 by the Dalek Emperor as a pawn in the stratagem spanning several hundred years.
Did they mention the Daleks in this episode? That's like later when we come back to Silent
But it's because we find out way down the road that the Daleks have been fucking with the human empire, remember?
Yeah, but at the time, I feel like at the time they didn't actually have an explanation, and that later they were like, we guess we can tie all this stuff together.
Away from his home planet, only a facility like Satellite 5 could produce enough cold air to sustain him. If no cold air was supplied, the Jagrafes would overheat and explode spectacularly.
A lot of exploding this season.
Yeah, the heat from floor 500 where the Jagrafes was installed was channeled away to the rest of the station, allowing the Jagrafes to remain in a cool climate. Since the Jagrafes could not operate Satellite 5's controls, a human known only as the Editor carried out his orders.
The Editor, that was his name.
Yeah. The Doctor discovered the fourth great and bountiful human empire was being controlled by the Jagrafes in 200,000, with the Doctor helping her realize the integrity of the heating system. Oh, her name was Kathika. I will say that was a cool name.
Yeah.
Using her info spike to channel heat, killing and blah, blah, blah.
Because then, Kathika, is that the lady that was really, like, annoying?
Mm-hmm.
So she also, like, comes out to 400 or 500 because she wants to see, and then she realizes that everything has been kind of a a mess, and the doctor sees her, but the editor doesn't see her, and he makes a comment about, like, how stupid humans are, but kind of as, like, a do something about it.
Yeah.
So she, like...
He basically spells out his plan, so she's in on it.
Yeah.
He's like, so you hole up here, and you control the humans by manipulating their media, just so they're good little slaves, and she's just like, fuck you. I will say, she is the epitome of a girl boss. She is myself first, and then she finds out that she's being used, and she says, fuck the man, I'm the man now.
Yeah, she downloads herself into it to control, like, retake back control or something and shut everything down.
They try to, like, overcome her, and her brain power is too strong.
Her brain, she's got a galaxy brain.
Big, beefy brain. I will say the fact that Simon Pegg is, like, this capitalist, wormy Ben Shapiro type being taken down by a woman of color, will say I will enjoy that plot point. That
She survives, right?
Yes, she does.
Which is a nice...
Yeah, because we see her at the end of the episode.
And I think that this is, like, I think I mentioned in an earlier episode that the Doctor respects characters that can put themselves in danger for the betterment of people.
Yeah.
So I think, because the Doctor did not like her, because she's selfish, but this is her, like, kind of turning point.
Yeah.
And,
I will say, I respect a character that does things out of spite, because I also operate off of spite.
Well, that's exactly, she was like, I'm being controlled, not anymore,
Not
bucko.
on my watch, bucko. And then she channels all the heat back up into satellite. Oh, I will say, I love the part where Rose gets out, but the Doctor doesn't, and he's trying to instruct her on how to use the sonic screwdriver.
And he's like, just press the button, and she's like, what are you talking about? What button?
She has to, like, rummage through his, like, coat pocket. I do say, I do love the idea that the Doctor is brimming with shit in his pockets.
Oh yeah, he's a little gremlin man that has little knickknacks in his pockets.
I imagine he carries hard candy in his pockets.
He definitely has like a Swiss Army knife in one pocket and like some loose change in the other, some rocks, and then some hard candy.
Some like butterscotch
candy,
some Werthers.
Because he's an old man.
Old man. So she has to like do the thing to get him out. And then the whole place is like ready to blow up there, and the editor's like, I'm resigning, and he goes to book it out of there, and this makes no sense, but I do love it. I think her name's Sophie, is the girl who gets taken up there, the one who plays Beelzebub.
Yes, she's still alive. She trips him.
Yeah, she grabs his leg so that he can't escape while the Jaggerfest melts, which is so gross.
I think he like, doesn't he eat him first or something? Like
he just gets incinerated. Yeah, and then they all get out, which is always nice to see. And then they get downstairs, and Adam is waiting outside of the TARDIS, and he looks like if like a teenage boy crashed his like dad's truck, and he's like, well, and this is the best part is he goes, well, it's your fault for like not helping me out, and the Doctor grabs him by the scruff of his jacket, and there's just something about the way the Doctor is gripping the back of this man's neck as he's like going to get the TARDIS key. There's just something about it. I bet your bros was into it.
She's like, yeah, that's fair. He's like his little bad puppy that got into the garbage.
And he's just like, well, it's your fault for leaving me alone. And the Doctor's like, shut up, and throws him into the TARDIS.
And when they get back to his house, he's like,
oh, it's my house.
The Doctor immediately knows what he's done. And he looks at his answering machine with like the blinking light. He's like, yeah, that's not happening. And he like, does he zap it or does he straight up break it?
Just straight up breaks it.
Yeah, he just straight up breaks it, which is hilarious.
It's just funny because he goes, anything else you want to tell me? And he's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And so the Doctor like picks up the answering machine and just fucking blows it up.
And then he did. Well, they know about his thing, so the Doctor makes a joke about like good luck living with that, and he like snaps. And then he keeps snapping.
He keeps fucking with him.
And then Rose is like, alright, let's leave him alone. And then she immediately starts doing it.
And she's like, sorry, I couldn't resist. And he's like, well, what am I supposed to do now? I've got this thing in my head. And the Doctor's like,
maybe you should have thought of it before, dummy.
And he's like, you will have to live a very quiet life, because if you try to do anything, I will come and get you. And I do love...
I don't think... He also means quiet as in no snapping.
Oh, yeah. I do love when...
the Doctor goes...
I love when... Mode. No, I was gonna say, I love when tech bros get consequences.
Like, you thought you could fly this close to the sun, and now you have a hole in your head.
But it's not even that. It's the fact that because he was this stupid, now he will never be able to do anything for the rest of his life because he has to live in worry that someone's going to expose his brain.
He's going to have to wear a hat all the time.
A headband.
A headband. He's going to look suspicious.
Yeah. And so it's like you've not only tried to screw up time itself, but now you've screwed up your own life because now you won't be able to do anything because you, like, were an idiot.
Because, like, immediately after that, his mom comes home and she's all excited because he's been in Utah this whole time.
Yeah.
And she's like,
has it been 6 months already? Time flies. It just goes by like that. And you're like...
all you hear is the, like, opening noise and then she just passes out.
She just screams. And the doctor's like...
I think that they've been gone by then.
Yeah.
But it's like, I feel like the doctor's like, yeah.
Deserved it.
And he's... Like, I feel like the conversation they had afterwards was, like, him going up to Rose and be like, don't invite anyone else.
Yeah, no more boys.
Like, no more boyfriends.
I feel like, I will say there's just something about,
this
like...
is a boyfriend-free zone. No boys allowed.
I'm the only boyfriend in the TARDIS. There's just something about, like, it almost feels like he was happy that he was such an idiot.
Yeah, he's like, thank God.
Because then, A, he could get rid of him, and B, he can be like, see, Rose, I'm the best boy. Why would you want anyone else?
He could also be like, Rose, you're the best companion I've ever had.
Yeah.
You're not like this dummy Adam. He's playing favorites.
Yeah, well, he always plays favorites with Rose, especially. Come on, wait till poor Mickey joins the group, and he's just like, I have this, like, mental image of him, like, hugging her and petting her hair and being like, my Rose is the best companion, and Mickey's, like, grumpy in the corner.
I think this happens with 10, when Mickey comes back on board, and they're, like, talking about all the, like, oh yeah, and then we did this, and Mickey's like, I wasn't invited.
Yeah.
Poor Mickey.
I saw a clip, this is completely unrelated, but I saw a clip from one of the 10 episodes with Mickey, and Mickey's had his, like, hand on this button for, like, a half hour. But it's, I don't know how else to describe it. Because 10 is more conventionally attractive than 9, it's almost more insulting.
Yeah.
And so it's the doctor sitting in his stupid chair with his arm around Rose. And Mickey is getting cucked, basically, and it's so funny.
And he's like, oh yeah, you could have stopped pressing the button like an hour ago.
And Rose just, like, giggles, and you're just like, this is so rude.
Mickey shouldn't have put up with that.
No, he really should not have. It's so funny. You're just like, this is so awful. Treat this man
They're
better.
like teenagers.
They really are. The doctor's just like, I got the pretty girl.
She's my girlfriend now.
But yeah, so that was, I think that's it. I have nothing else to say about this
episode.
I did not enjoy this one.
This episode is extremely forgettable.
There's really nothing to analyze.
I think it's funny that they bring back Satellite 5. I think they realized that they had so much more they could have done with it.
Or they, like, were like, well, we have this set already.
Yeah, like, we have... Because Satellite 5 becomes, like, a game show place.
Yeah.
Which is so much more interesting. That episode's a lot more interesting than this one.
Oh, yeah.
I think at first the reason why this episode was forgettable is because nothing really happened. And then the reason I ended up remembering it is because of how I remember watching it and being like, oh yeah, this episode I don't remember anything about, and also Adam, and then I couldn't forget about it because it was like I was so surprised about how forgettable it was.
Yeah, it's not great. It's definitely the weakest one, I would say.
It's not even very well written either.
It's just the thing is I can't even really say that, like, oh, there was so much potential and they wasted it. I don't think there was even that
No,
much
there
potential.
really wasn't anything.
Like, it's not like it was, like, poorly written.
And they had an idea, and I can see where the idea was going. I just don't think that they were, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Like, they had an idea and, like, probably an outline, and then they were like, actually, I don't know how to write this story.
Mm-hmm. It's not the best one. I'm definitely glad that we managed to get through this episode and now we don't have to think about it again. But yeah,
especially since the next couple episodes are straight bangers.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know what? This is what, like, when people like to to act like Russell T Davies is like this god among men.
Yeah.
Every writer has a bad episode.
Every writer needs to be humbled, and this was his humbling.
This is the humbling.
Yeah. You know, I still enjoy this season. There's always got to be a worst episode.
I mean, and the problem is this episode isn't even bad. It's just forgettable, which I think is arguably the best way to be bad. Like,
yeah.
Because I'd rather have a season and then be like, oh yeah, that was an episode, not really my thing, than have a season be like, I hated that episode.
Yeah. It's better to be forgettable than to be memorably bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. But every season's got to have its worst. There are seasons that we will cover in future episodes that have way worsts.
Yeah.
The Ninth Doctor kind of got away pretty well with this one. 10 will always have love and monsters.
Oh god.
That's that. What is this called again?
This is called The Long Game.
The Long Game. I don't know. Is The Long Game the 90 years of the Jaggerfist?
Yeah.
Well, this was The Long Game. It's over now. I'm so glad.
We'll never have to talk about Adam again.
I will forget him immediately.
Just like the Doctor.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Blue Box Banter. You can find us on Tumblr, Instagram, and YouTube under the username Blue Box Banter Podcast. New episodes release Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Music. Thanks again for listening, and have a fantastic day.